Hi, Brandon. How you doing? Thank you so much for including your work. Some weird bolded words and some other issues saving a PDF that I am not really sure how to work around. You know what? If you could be a little bit more clear about this, you say the bolded words, that could possibly be, in all likelihood, it's a PDF rendering. Although I do see that this PDF is pretty large, so I'm wondering if you saved this as a high quality PDF. Let me know, and also let me know the other issues that you were having saving your PDF. I think your PDF is acting really strange, and you'll see it's loading really super slowly. So I agree there's some oddities with the PDF, but that could possibly be just because it was saved as a high quality print PDF. So let me know about that because it's really important to me that we get this squared away so that you don't have these problems in the future and moving through your student career. Made some minor tweaks to help the alignment and the overall piece. Okay, and thank you for any advice. Of course, absolutely. It's always my pleasure. Let's go ahead and jump over to the work. All right, so we've got the back of the poster and we've got the front of the poster. Let's jump to the front of the poster first. I think you're onto something here. I think it's a good, see what I mean? How this thing just takes a second to re-render itself. It's really, I have a feeling it was saved as a high quality print PDF. So you could save it as a screen PDF, and I think that would probably eliminate a lot of the issues. Okay, now a couple of things with the front of the poster. I think it's a really good idea. Conceptually, I think it's pretty sound. One of the things I would recommend is reducing the size of these chemical formulas here. Not the actual chemical illustration, just these CH2OH and this O and this OH, and likewise here. Just reduce those a little bit, or try to take a little bit of hierarchy attention away from those and place it where it belongs, and that's on the actual name. So think about that. And then also, I think father of carbohydrates. Boy, I'm wondering, see if this typeface here has either a black or maybe even a bold. I don't think, based on the weight of Norman Hayworth, this is likely, it's getting lost. It is, it's really likely that the viewer is not even going to view this for two reasons. Number one, the visual weight of the color and the size and the sheer scale of the name, in conjunction with the illustrations in the name, in conjunction with the size of these little chemical formulas, kind of render this as like a third or fourth position in hierarchy, whereas really it should be solid second position. Norman Hayworth, father of carbohydrates. The rest should fall in line from there. Think about that. My guess is that a bold or a black typeface in this type family would work. Let me grab and let me check some alignment here. Okay, so it's pretty good, but you're a little bit out of alignment there. I would push this over a little bit because you're aligning that horizontal branch to the vertical stroke, and it's creating an illusion that it's not in alignment. What we typically do in a situation like this is just take this, nudge it over a couple of pixels to the left. So you're trying really to get, it's somewhere between the arm, the horizontal branch and the vertical stem in alignment. So think about just basically, I guess what I'm saying is just nudge it over to the left, just a little. Sorry about that. You probably heard my dogs. Yeah, there was a little commotion here, so I apologize for that. I don't recall exactly where I was. I think we're pretty much covered. I was talking about alignment. I was talking about a hierarchy of the subhead. And I was also talking about hierarchy based on the size and scale of these little chemical formulas. Okay, let's jump to the back. All right, now the first thing I see about with the back, now remember this is an 11 by 17 poster, okay? So it is just not likely. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's an 11 by 17 poster. That means it's going to be viewed likely on a wall, right? So there's so much text here. Imagine walking up to a poster and seeing this much text. Would you read it? And I know I wouldn't. I think it's just too text heavy. And you know, whether if it's a magazine article or even something smaller than a poster, yes, absolutely, you get a little bit more of a personal relationship with it, meaning that you're probably holding it in your hand, which will give you the time to read it. But in a poster hanging on a wall, presumably, it's just not feasible to think that somebody would stand and read and spend the 4 minutes or so to read this. I hope that makes sense. And I don't mean to sound discouraging. All I'm saying is let's just reduce the amount of body copy here. Okay, the next thing is this, is that it seems like this gutter is much wider than this gutter. And that has to do with the way your grid is set up and how you're adhering to your grid. My recommendation is once you, and I am going to recommend you address your regs, but once you address your regs, you'll really be able to see if that is if that's just an illusion based on the fact that these regs are and these lines are much shorter. So we definitely have to address that gap right there. It's just a little wider than that gap. So that's very important. Okay. Old style, good job. At this point, I'm going to go through your typography. But before I do that, I'm going to start out by talking about layout, and then we'll jump into more of a micro look at typography. So let's go ahead and take a look at the timeline. I think the timeline is really, really bare. It doesn't really even kind of behave like a timeline, only because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 entries in your timeline. And you're spanning almost, wow, how many years is that? 83 to 50, it's 50, 30, that's 70 some years. That's 70 some years. So I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries in 70 some years. I would definitely I would work this out, really make this interesting. Another option is it seems like this is stark because it's only got so much space. Another option here is to start your type here, okay, and then maybe stop it right here as your baseline, then bring this second and third columns up so that they're formatted, they're starting up at the top. And that's going to open up the bottom for the timeline where you can really concentrate on adding more entries into the timeline to further engage the visual attributes and also to complete the informational attributes of the poster. Okay, you know what I'm checking for? I'm going for small caps. We've got old style numerals. That's fantastic. I don't see any number. Well, here for this, I'm going to have to zoom in here. So let's just go ahead and do that. And we'll take a good close look. Okay. Okay. Right there, those are all caps. Those should be small caps. Now, please review the video tutorials in the announcements area for small caps. There's some way back in week 4, and there's just a bunch of announcements. So be sure you understand how to create or adjust small caps. If the typeface doesn't have small caps available, what you can do is reduce the size of the of all caps by about a point or so. That'll bring it more into line with the X height, and it won't stand out as much. Okay, right here, that's an N dash, not a dash. That looks like a dash right there. This is 1911. It has to do with a gap, a numeric gap. So you have a number here, so you could use an N dash there. I don't recommend a space on either side of the N dash, or any dashes for that matter. I don't use spaces. That's personal preference. Either use a space before and a space after, or don't, but don't mix it up. Okay, and that, again, that's personal preference. So whatever you want in that regard is fine. Okay, let's see what we got. Jeez. Okay, degree. I would definitely want to talk about regs. So okay. Again, small caps. Right there. I don't know. Now that I look at it, you may have reduced those a little bit. As a matter of fact, the more I look at it, the more it looks like you did. Definitely here. Let me know. Let me know. Sometimes it's difficult to tell, but they don't look bad at all. So I'm thinking that you may have adjusted already. Okay. That's a widow. No can do, man. You'll get nailed for that by a portfolio reviewer and especially a professional, a high-end professional. You don't want any orphans or widows. Really, really important. It's one of the first things they look for. Okay, typeset looks pretty darn good, but we got to address the rags. So, a couple of things I want to mention here is the rags. Okay, so you're right now you're right at the bottom margin. I mean, you don't have any room for error there whatsoever. You've got to establish a good bottom margin, giving a little breathing room there. So definitely want to do that. Also, watch your baseline grid. This column is not in alignment with these columns in terms of your baseline grid. Okay, rags, really important. The rags absolutely need to be adjusted. Let me bring up a graphic for you. Hang on one sec. Let me see, where the heck did I put it? Here it is right here. Well, that was easy to find. So while this is opening, what I want to do is here it is. Okay, good rag, bad rag. Okay, so this little infographic kind of shows the difference between good rags and bad rags. Bad rags have these like really wide differences in these angles like this, and these big, big variations between the longest and the shortest type lines. You don't want that. You want your rags to be even like this. Not so much so that it looks contrived, looks more natural and stagger long line, short line, long line, short line, long line, short line. So you want to avoid any great differences between the longest and the shortest type lines. You also want to avoid any kind of wavy patterns like this. Whoop, see that right there? And then there's another one where right here, where this one goes out like this, and this one, whoop, that goes in like that. You definitely want to avoid those. So I would recommend going through the entire typeset and adjusting your rags. Luckily, there is a video in the announcements on how to adjust your rags. So these are things that I will definitely be looking at in the final submission. Okay, so at this point, I would say if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary additional comments and critiques. So if you want to address these, well, you know, just like last week and the week before, if you want to address these issues and go ahead and repost before your final submission at the end of the week, I'll be glad to provide additional comments. I would recommend you do so because right now there are some issues with the work. Nothing bad, nothing bad. I think it's a great start, fantastic start. So please, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so you know, questions, comments, concerns, clarifications, I'm right here. Please let me know quickly so that we can address this work. All right, great job. Thank you very much.